Draymond Green just dropped a BMB on the entire Warriors dynasty, and nobody is ready for this conversation. On the latest episode of The Draymond Green Show, Draymond made a jaw-dropping revelation about one of the most beloved figures in Golden State history. He said, quote, highly likely that after the 2019 playoffs, Klay Thompson was going to leave the Golden State Warriors and go be a #1 option somewhere. Highly likely. And then he added, there was a 90% chance my brother was going to leave Golden State and go elsewhere and test that #1 option thing out. Let that sink in for a second. Nedai Parshian. Klay was walking. He was owed. One of the greatest shooting guards of all time, a 3-time champion at that point, was ready to ditch the dynasty and go prove he could carry a franchise on his own. So why did he stay? One devastating reason. The ACL tear in Game 6 of the 2019 NBA Finals against the Toronto Raptors changed everything. Klay went down in one of the most heartbreaking moments in recent NBA history, and suddenly, going anywhere to prove himself as a #1 option was no longer an option at all. He needed to recover. He needed a team that knew his rehab, a city that loved him, and an organization that would be patient. So he stayed in Golden State. And then, before he could even get back on the court, the Achilles injury in November 2020 wiped out another full season. He missed 2.5 years of basketball. The prime years he would have used to prove himself as a franchise cornerstone. Draymond has always been one of the most honest voices in the NBA, and he is making a crystal clear point. Do not judge Klay by the player he became after 2 catastrophic injuries. Judge him by who he was in 2017, 2018, and 2019, a player who was so good, so confident, so ready, that he was about to step out of Steph Curry's shadow and demand the spotlight for himself. Klay is now with the Miami Heat on a 2-year deal worth $11.5 million, his third team after Golden State and Dallas. Draymond directly pushed back on anyone expecting peak Klay in Miami. He compared Thompson's upcoming role to what Ray Allen did late in his career with the Heat, a premium shooter coming off screens, making winning plays, not trying to be the guy. That is the realistic version, Green says. Here is the drama though, and this is what has the entire NBA world buzzing right now. Draymond's revelation completely rewrites the narrative of that Warriors dynasty. We always assumed the Splash Brothers were locked in, inseparable, the foundation of a dynasty that could last forever. But Draymond is telling us that Klay had one foot out the door back in 2019. That means the Warriors dynasty, as we know it, may have been one injury away from ending on Klay's own terms, rather than limping to a conclusion years later. Think about that. If Klay stays healthy, does he sign with the Lakers? The Knicks, a team desperate for a #1 option. Does he boo him as the guy? We will never know. And honestly, that mystery makes this revelation even more painful for Warriors fans. The what-ifs are absolutely endless. What this means for the Warriors right now is layered. First, it adds even more weight to what Draymond himself represents as the last true survivor of that dynasty alongside Steph Curry. These two are the ones who stayed when everything else crumbled. And second, it shifts the way we evaluate the current moment. Draymond is clearly in a reflective headspace, looking back at that era with honest eyes, not nostalgia. That kind of honesty from inside the locker room is rare, and it tells you Draymond is at peace with the past while fully locked into his present. He signed a 1-year deal worth $27.8 million to come back to Golden State for what could be a final chapter, and he is not hiding from the reality of what this team is, what it was, and what it could still become. The dynasty had cracks nobody saw from the outside. Now we see them all. So let me ask you this real quick. TYPITE come Enos. Do you think Klay Thompson could have been a legitimate #1 option on an NBA team? TYPENO. Drop it right now. Yo, listen. Jonathan Kuminga and his agent Aaron Turner have given the NBA world the most stunning financial disaster of the 2026 offseason, and even Gilbert Arenas cannot believe what just happened. Here are the facts. Kuminga just signed a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That works out to roughly $6.2 million per year. For a 23-year-old with championship experience and legitimate way upside. $6.2 million per year in 2026 in a league where role players are making double digits just for showing up. Let that marinate. Now here is where it gets absolutely wild. The Lakers originally offered Kuminga 2 years and $20 million at the start of free agency as one of their top targets. He turned that down. He waited out the market, convinced something bigger was coming. Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka and coach JJ Redick literally met with Kuminga virtually and pitched him on a vision of being a high-minutes wing playing next to a superstar in a spacious offensive environment built for his skill set. That was a real, serious offer. And Kuminga said no. He kept waiting. He kept waiting for a deal that never came. When the dust settled, the best available offer was $13 million over 2 years from Minnesota. That is $7 million less than the Lakers offered him at the jump. $7 million less, after months of waiting and watching. This is the second consecutive offseason Kuminga and Turner have dramatically misread the free agency market. Last year, after a wild saga that included Turner doing a 3-interview media blitz in a single day trying to apply public pressure on the Warriors, Kuminga eventually signed with Golden State for a deal with a team option. The Warriors then traded him to Atlanta for Kristaps Porzingis' expiring contract. Now, coming off his time with the Hawks, Kuminga enters Minnesota as a starter alongside Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, Jaden McDaniels, and Rudy Gobert. That is a stacked lineup. That is the one silver lining. Enter Gilbert Arenas. Agent Zero went absolutely scorched earth on social media after this deal dropped. He called it a podcast deal. He said, quote, "How does your contract keep getting worse? You were balling in Atlanta and then signed a Costco members deal. 2-year. 13. Arenas even jokingly offered Kuminga a better contract if he wanted to come do a show with him instead. The viral clip spread across every NBA platform within hours because look, the math is not kind to Kuminga's camp. Arenas is not wrong. This is a guy who was once demanding $15 to $20 million per year, who burned bridges in Golden State over those demands, who had a more lucrative deal sitting on the table from the Lakers, and who ends up signing for $6.2 million annually. And last offseason, the Warriors had offered him a 3-year, $75.2 million framework that he could have accepted. He could have had $24.3 million guaranteed in 26-27 alone. Instead, he has got $6.1 million this season. The math is just brutal. The impact on the Warriors is actually fascinating because in hindsight, Golden State looks like the genius in this entire saga. They got Porzingis. They moved on from a player they could not maximize. They avoided a massive long-term commitment at a price that was clearly inflated relative to where the market landed. Kuminga's camp pushed hard, made noise publicly, burned goodwill inside the organization, and ended up with the worst financial outcome of the last 2 off-seasons combined. The Warriors are sitting back watching this unfold, and they have to feel completely vindicated. Meanwhile, Kuminga gets a fresh start with a contender. If he balls out next to Edwards and Ball, maybe this looks smart in a year. But financially, right now, this is the cautionary tale of the 2026 NBA offseason. Stay right there, because what is coming next will completely change how you think about this Warriors season. Do not touch that screen. And hey, if you are not subscribed yet, do it right now. New Warriors content every single day. Hit that button. ESPN's NBA insiders just made a massive prediction about the Golden State Warriors, and if you're a Dubs fan, this is both exciting and terrifying at the same time. In ESPN's NBA summer forecast for the 2026-27 season, the media outlet polled its panel of insiders asking one simple question: which team is most likely to make a big move before the trade deadline? The Warriors finished first. Not second, not tied for first. Golden State earned 9 points in the poll, comfortably ahead of the Detroit Pistons in second place with 4, 9-4. It was not even close. The NBA's most powerful insider group collectively believes the Warriors are going to blow something up before February's trade deadline. And the context here is everything. The Warriors have had a legitimately quiet offseason. After well-documented failed attempts to land major free agent targets, GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. essentially ran things back with the existing core. Steph Curry is still here, still elite, still the engine. Draymond Green came back on a 1-year, $27.8 million deal with no note trade clause attached. And that last detail is critical. Per The Athletic's Marcus Thompson, the Warriors intentionally did not give Draymond a no trade clause, specifically because of the trade market. Quote, "It's probably 6 months left for the Draymond Green era," Thompson said on a podcast. That $27.8 million contract with no trade protection is a very movable asset if the right deal presents itself. Dunleavy himself has hinted at the Warriors' ability to look different after the deadline, and internally the team does not view themselves as simply running things back. They think they can make a pivot. They have to, because the window for Steph Curry is not infinite. Now here is the other piece that makes this story even bigger. ESPN's Ben Golliver specifically outlined that the Warriors will have real options when February arrives. Option 1, try to flip Jimmy Butler's expiring contract, combined with other assets to land a genuine star. Option 2, construct a more modest but impactful move centered around Kristaps Porzingis. And Option 3, the one that would really shake the league. A complete roster reshaping that sets up a 2027 summer overhaul with over $100 million in cap space potentially available. This team has historically used the trade deadline better than almost anyone. Remember, they were 25-24 when they traded for Jimmy Butler in 2025. They were 27-24 when they traded for Porzingis last season. Dunleavy has proven he will pull the trigger when the moment is right. The question is not if the Warriors make a move. The insiders have already answered that. The question is WHO they get. Golliver's analysis is blunt and honest. If Dunleavy does not do something of consequence, this will likely be another frustrating campaign. Curry's knee health limited Golden State's competitiveness at the end of last season. Butler is going to miss the first several months recovering from a torn ACL. Moses Moody's return from a torn left patellar tendon is unknown. The core is aging, with Curry at 38, Draymond at 36, and Al Horford at 40. This roster at full strength is interesting. At half strength while waiting for Butler, it is genuinely concerning. The front office knows this, the insiders know this, and by February, the entire NBA world will be watching Chase Center's next move like a hawk. This is not a team that is going to sit still and accept mediocrity while Steph Curry still has elite basketball left in his legs. Something is coming. Bet on it. The 2026-27 Golden State Warriors roster is officially set, and when you look at it close up, you realize this team has real potential and real danger signs happening at the exact same time. ESPN dropped their full off-season recap and season preview for Golden State today, and the picture they paint is one of a franchise betting on health, flexibility, and a midseason splash to stay relevant in a brutally competitive Western Conference. Let us break down exactly where things stand right now. The key additions this offseason were rookie Axel Lendeborg, who Golden State drafted with the 11th overall pick, plus the 2 late signings of Brandon Williams and Georges Niang on minimum deals to fill out the final 2 roster spots. The key subtractions were Quinton Post, who left via offer sheet, and Pat Spencer. The key retentions were Draymond Green, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, Gary Payton Meltzer, and DeAnthony Melton, all brought back on new short-term contracts that keep the team flexible. And the word ESPN keeps using to describe this offseason is telling stability and flexibility over a larger shake-up. Translation: the Warriors punted on a massive swing and are hoping the existing group, with some reinforcements, can hold things together until a better opportunity presents itself. Here is the biggest single question hanging over this team right now: Kristaps Porzingis. Big KP only played 32 games in 2025-26 after being diagnosed with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, a condition that limited both his availability and his effectiveness all season long. The Warriors signed him to a 2-year, $40 million deal this offseason, which strongly suggests the medical staff believes he can get healthy and stay on the court, and if he does, the fit is genuinely elite. A fully healthy Porzingis next to Steph Curry and Draymond Green is legitimately scary to defend. A 7'3" threat who can shoot from anywhere, set screens, run the pick and roll, and protect the rim. That would feel like a brand new player arriving on this roster because we barely saw that version of Porzingis in a Warriors uniform. But here is the hard truth: he only played 32 games. The Warriors cannot fully count on him being there every single night. If he misses another big chunk of the season, the front court gets dangerously thin and dangerously old. Speaking of old, the age math on this roster is genuinely alarming. Steph Curry is 38. Jimmy Butler is 37, will miss the first several months recovering from a torn ACL. Draymond is 36. Al Horford is 40 years old. Georges Niang also missed all of last season. This is a team with an enormous amount of players who are either old, injured, or both. The Warriors' biggest hole at the wing position is undeniable, especially without Butler and Moses Moody. Rookie Lendeborg is expected to play significant minutes at small forward even though he is naturally a power forward. Will Richard is more of a wing than a shooting guard, but the talent level there is still developing. The honest best case scenario looks like this: Curry stays healthy, Butler comes back looking like himself sometime after the new year, Porzingis actually plays enough games to make an impact, Lendeborg develops faster than expected, and the smaller signings like Williams and Niang provide quality depth. In that world, analysts project this version of the Warriors could win around 48 games. And a healthy version of this team in April with Curry, Butler, Draymond, and Porzingis all clicking. Nobody in the first round would be happy to see them. These are veterans who know how to play big moments. The worst case, though, is not hard to imagine. Last season, Curry only played 43 games. If something similar happens this year, the Warriors could be in serious trouble very quickly. The margin for error here is razor thin, and everybody inside the organization knows it. Comment below right now and tell me: is Kristaps Porzingis healthy all season? Yes, or is he going to miss big chunks again? No. Drop it in the comments. I want to know what you think. Alright, you want to talk about a roster move that looks simple on the surface but could totally reshape the Warriors' 15-man squad before opening night. This is the Brandon Williams story, and there is a contract quirk buried inside this signing that changes everything you thought you knew about Golden State's roster heading into training camp. Here are the base facts first. Golden State signed Williams, a 26-year-old 6'1" guard, to a 1-year, $2.6 million deal. He played 66 games last season for the Dallas Mavericks, averaging 13 points, 3.9 assists, and 2.9 rebounds in just 22.2 minutes per game. He is undrafted, he has had to earn every minute of his NBA career, and he is exactly the type of hungry, versatile backup point guard the Warriors needed opposite DeAnthony Melton. Great player, good price, right fit. That is the surface level rid. But here is where things get wild. Hoopshype's Michael Scotto reported that Williams' contract currently has 0 guarantees. None. $0 guaranteed right now. Not a single penny. When the deal was first announced at $2.6 million, everyone assumed it was at least partially guaranteed. guaranteed, maybe fully. It is neither. Williams will be guaranteed $1.4 million only if he is still on the roster on opening night. And even then, the story does not end there. He has the worst contract structure on the Warriors in the sense that even if he survives to opening night and gets that $1.4 million locked in, he can still be cut midseason before the remaining $1.2 million of his salary becomes guaranteed. So you are looking at a player who has essentially zero job security for the next month and a half until training camp shakes out. The Warriors can release him at any point between now and the start of the season without a single dollar in cap penalty. So what does this actually mean in practice? It means training camp just got a lot more interesting. It means a player like Dalen Terry, who could potentially be in camp on a tryout basis, is competing directly with Williams for that roster spot. It means the Warriors have built in maximum flexibility for themselves. They can evaluate Williams throughout the preseason, compare him to anyone else who shows up, and make a no-cost decision to keep or cut him without consequence. And it fits perfectly with what GM Mike Dunleavy Jeter has said publicly about carrying a full 15-man roster this season, particularly with Jimmy Butler and Moses Moody both unavailable to start the year due to major injuries. The Warriors need depth. They need options. They need bodies in training camp who are hungry and motivated to earn their spot. Williams arrives with exactly that chip on his shoulder. Georges Niang and Charles Bassey also have partial guarantees with similar midseason cut dates around January 10th, meaning if, say, two-way player LJ Cryer is absolutely cooking in a reserve role by December or January, the Warriors have the roster flexibility to convert him to a standard contract by cutting one of Williams, Niang, or Bassey at low cost. This is brilliant roster construction from a financial standpoint. Golden State is operating hard, capped at the second apron, which means they cannot just sign anyone they want at any price. Every move has to be precise. Every dollar has to count. The Williams signing, non-guaranteed structure and all, is Dunleavy building in an escape hatch. If Williams is great, he stays and earns his money. If someone better emerges during camp, he is gone without a second thought. This is how contending teams are built in the modern NBA: smart, flexible, and never locked in when they do not have to be. The competition for that final guard spot just became the most interesting subplot of Warriors training camp. And that is a wrap on today's 5 biggest Warriors stories. Before you go, tap the video on the LFT and the video on the RightGHT. Both of them are loaded with more Warriors content you need to see right now. Today, we broke down Draymond's wild Klay Thompson revelation that he was 90% likely to leave in 2019. We got into the Jonathan Kuminga financial disaster and Gilbert Arenas going scorched earth on his agent. We covered ESPN's insider prediction that the Warriors are the #1 most likely team to make a monster trade deadline move. We analyzed the full 2026-27 roster outlook and the enormous questions around Porzingis, Butler, and the aging core. And we broke down the Brandon Williams contract quirk that makes training camp a genuine open competition for roster spots. That is your Warriors world today. See you in the next one. Dub Nation, Lee's G.O.